How do you wear a legacy? Described in British military writings as both warriors and gentlemen, Gurkhas carry legends spanning over 200 years. More than about what Gurkhas wear, this presentation is about wearing the idea of the Gurkha. Once upon a time, 200 years ago, in a place far, far away, the kingdom of Elite, some soldiers went out on adventures around the world over land and sea. They reached the foothills of the highest mountains in the world and asked the jolly people there to join their adventures too. And so a friendship was born. But did they live happily ever after? The origin story goes, in the aftermath of the Anglo-Nepal War of 1814 to 1816, despite winning victory, the British were so impressed by Nepali fighting skills that they decided it was better to have them as a friend rather than a foe. And so the East India Company began recruiting Nepalis who pledged their loyalty to the British Crown, and these created military regiments called the Gurkhas, which continue to this day. Although the real story is a bit more complicated than that. The 200-year bond is something that is repeatedly emphasized. This visual paper explores fairy tales about the Gurkhas and investigates how Nepali diaspora youth in the UK have been inspired by the idea of the Gurkha soldier. How do young British Nepalis blend intergenerational transmissions of army culture to shape the ways they see themselves? How are these experiences projected, and how might these projections bring greater agency to render new Nepali histories? We start another tale of new beginnings, which is the story of the struggles for settlement rights. Despite the UK declaring Nepal as its oldest friend, it was only since 2004 that Gurkha soldiers and veterans were formally allowed to settle in the UK with their families. It also changed the demographics of the UK's Nepali population, making it composed predominantly of four main Janajati groups who continue to participate in ethnic revivalism, which color what the diaspora youth experience as Nepali culture.
Because they come from martial clans in Nepal. And some of the clans, have this particular tradition of being the warriors. And I think that's what, I suppose, makes them such wonderful soldiers.
Moving to the UK, Nepalis find themselves in a land where there are constant public celebrations and reminders of Gurkha service in museums, memorials, and monuments.
Trains are often named after kings, queens or castles. The newest arrival at Paddington this morning honours a Gurkha war hero. Tulbahar upon his children, unveiling his name on the engine of a GWR Intercity Express train. Lieutenant Poon won the Victoria Cross for his bravery fighting the Japanese.
Ask any British soldier who's ever served alongside Johnny Gurkha, and you'll hear nothing but praise for his fighting prowess and his loyalty to comrades.
The statue was then revealed to applause, followed by a minute's silence, and then the laying of tributes. It was a proud moment for the Gurkha community.
And bravery that Kulbir Thapa
courage, comradeship, compassion. Ma kiwal Nepali haroko sahasik saina sewa machanabai nagarik sewa ko lagi pani dhanibad inshu. Jai Nepal, Jai UK. Namaskar.
Stories of Gurkha service are also shared through citing examples of their Victoria Cross winners, recipients of British Army's highest gallantry award. Images of these 13 Victoria Cross winners are very familiar amongst the Gurkha community. In the meantime, documentaries and ad campaigns feature real-life contemporary Gurkha heroes.
It's the inside story of my incredible adventure.
In 2010, I was deployed to Afghanistan. We are very proud to do that. So I was just there and did my best. Suddenly went bang.
I had seen the two Taliban.
He was awarded the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, which is second only to the Victoria Cross, and an absolutely just recognition of what he did that night.
I do really proud to being Gurkhas because my grandfather and my father was also Gurkhas.
In Britain, Gurkhas were most recently visible in the public eye during Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Amongst the grandeur of impressive military units on display, the British media also gave voice to Gurkhas on their service to the Crown. Sectors of British and global media have also expressed admiration in different ways. It is these legends, as well as attractive salaries for a still impoverished nation, that attracts thousands of young men in Nepal to try out for extremely difficult selection trials each year, which are tougher than joining regular regiments in the British Army. On average, only between 2 to 4% of competitors are chosen. For example, usually around 230 spots are given to an average of 17,000 competitors. Hopeful teenagers may train for months and even years at recruitment centers. Many of the recruitment procedures continue the same way as it has been done for generations. Once taken into the Brigade of Gurkhas in the British Army, the new recruits wear very similar uniforms as have other Gurkhas before them, some updated with new materials. One of the recurring images is the symbol of the kukri, a large knife with a curved blade. The myth of the iconic kukri still prevails, where many still believe that a Gurkha's kukri, once drawn, cannot go back into its sheath unless it draws blood. My research explores the impact of Gurkha military heritage on the cultural production of young Nepali men in the UK through their arts and leisure events. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic and the global Black Lives Matter protests accelerated conversations of decolonization and race across many sectors of education, industry, and community networks, both in the UK and the rest of the world. How have these recent discourses shaped the way young British Nepalis see themselves? And in what ways have notions of belonging been shaped from reconfigured relationships to place and space through global lockdown? First, I remixed pre-2020 footage to give a glimpse of arts and events I was investigating in my search of Gurkha references that I was observing around me. The mixture of influences of being in the UK, where both sounds and fashion styles show urban Afro-Caribbean British genres of music and aesthetics such as grime, drill, Afrobeat, dancehall, and reggae.
Everest ragamuffins. TikTok bro. Sabi ko na yan TikTok bro.
I'm risking more than a 2 in a blue when I hit them roads trying to flip this food. Man, I got plans on plans, but fam is mad. I'll scurry one, lock my goon.
No, you got told by them waste man things. Snapchatting to your friends about them waste man things. Are they artists?
These styles are very different to Nepali hip-hop in the USA, but both play on the glamorization of gangs, drugs, violence, and other illegal activities. These songs see no contradiction in identifying both with disciplined Gurkha soldiers and drug dealers. Some of this crew actually belonged to the British Army. True hippie.
कोही नेपालको राजा कोही नेपालको रानी कोही नेपालको चालक कोही चाहिँ खलासी कोही नेपालको लाउरे कोही सुपरस्टार कोही बाटो खर्ने इन्जिनियर गडफादर
Drip drip slow. That might be ice cold. Chopping with crying up blow. 100 a bag in his soul.
We no talk to police. That's why I've been brought up since a kid. Never back down from the fight with Nepali. I Gurkha.
Drip drip slow.
Here are some clips of London-based artists celebrating their Gurkha heritage.
Gurkha's dead.
Taylor about the fucking flex.
My vision is blurry. I told mama I'm sorry. To the people that care for me, people that love me, tell them don't worry. Hey, if it's beef, we in H-Town. T-Dubs, we ain't fucking around. Gurkha riders, GRE, yeah they wanna hear that sound.
So we feeling like our stress lately.
Stress lately, stress lately.
Smoking on that Ami got me stress free.
That loud is a cold.
Part of gang culture is also the importance of territory and space, and these you can hear throughout many songs referencing British Nepali neighborhoods such as H-Town for Hounslow, A-Town for Aldershot, and F-Town for Farnborough.
My city don't get a good rep, but I always got the back of the city that I'm from. GU, come up where it's at, A-Town, I feel that'll always be the city that I'm from.
What is important to note is that many places presented in these music videos tend to fall within the visual aesthetics that go with their musical genres, whether using graffiti backdrops, dilapidated buildings to show urban spaces of poverty, or parking lots to show off cars. The ways places are presented, where one could imagine overcrowded, run-down housing estates full of criminals and drug addicts, the places are different to the reality of these young men living in quiet suburban areas at the edges of London or rural towns and villages of southeast England. Places as fantasy can also be seen in this 2014 video game inspired by Nepal that also draws in the iconic Gurkha weapon, the kukri.
A remote and ancient paradigm.
We thank the gods who rain down judgment upon your enemies. As a new warrior to Kailash, you must acquire a kukri. This traditional blade will be your savior.
Gurkha symbols and legends of Alor continue to be perpetuated in the far corners of the internet.
Yeah, I thought, before they kill me, I have to kill some of them.
Good lad.
His efforts inspired other soldiers.
These videos also attract Nepali fans, providing comment sections as platforms to express pride. Sometimes, the ways in which the name Gurkha is used for what it symbolizes can be quite bizarre and even insulting.
Gurkha it is that prevails.
Well, they've always thought this is a top-class animal.
He had the brilliance, he has the pedigree, and he's got the looks and action to match.
You can also ride a Gurkha Force Jeep. However, some Gurkhas prefer to ride bikes, such as this former Gurkha soldier who has now moved on to work for the British Army. Mopeds and motorbikes are very common in Nepal and also highly popular amongst British Nepali youth. These pictures are predominantly of the children of Gurkhas living around southeast England and make us think about vehicles as accessories in menswear. More classical accessories inspired by Gurkhas are designed by this U.S. luxury leather goods brand.
We were inspired by the spirit of the Gurkhas, so this idea of fearlessness and adventure and bravery.
To a degree, always the same. Nothing changes him in the face of all the adversity.
They can be beat up, they can be dragged around the world, but are always absolutely beautiful and almost beautified by sort of this rugged experience that they're taken through.
Today, the Gurkha trouser has been rising as an evolving style across the globe by designers who are neither Nepali nor Gurkha. This brand from Singapore designs both jackets and trousers. Here is a young fashion student's designs who used the Gurkha Museum's archives for his collection. British sports brand Kukri borrows the name from the iconic Gurkha accessory, the kukri. Aside from the name, its designs have no visual iconography or styles associated with Gurkhas. Gurkhas have also been used for branding in another menswear luxury accessory of sorts. It continues the sort of objectification and commodification of Gurkha identity by non-Nepalis that tend to glamorize colonization. The founder states, the idea of the Officers' Club was to provide a grand atmosphere abroad to keep the traditions of the empire alive in foreign countries. I wanted to make an opulent cigar that would have fit right into one of those officers' clubs. The founder was later kicked out from his CEO position for alleged racist comments over Black Lives Matter. Away from the remnants of these officers' clubs, straight into the heart of the British Empire in Old Blighty, Nepalis find themselves amid sets of discourses that romanticize their heritage and find that they don't ease their everyday struggles of social mobility and integration as migrants and foreigners. Despite internationally famous Gurkha tales of bravery and prestigious positions serving the royal family, in the UK there are many people, particularly younger generations, who have no idea who or what the Gurkhas are. Global commodification and commercialization of the term Gurkha for marketing and branding has also stretched the term to be taken less seriously when erased from a national identity. The BLM protests of 2020 made a big impact on young children of Gurkhas in Britain. Due to their ethnic ambiguity, Nepalis also became victims of racism targeting East and Southeast Asians, heightened at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. The following year, in 2021, many British Nepalis began circulating a new social justice campaign using slogans inspired by BLM, such as Gurkha Lives Matter. It was the culmination of 32 years of campaigning by different Gurkha veteran groups. These campaigns included a campaign in 2008 for all veterans to get the right to live in the UK, which was offered to Commonwealth soldiers but not to them, and a hunger strike in 2013 over pensions. In 2021, after a series of a 24-hour hunger strike relay to commemorate the Victoria Cross winners by different veterans, wives and widows of Gurkhas, 2 Gurkha veterans and a widow went on hunger strike opposite London's Downing Street to fast on to death.
But your officers have taken away the awning under which these old soldiers were afforded some protection from.
They have not eaten for how many days? Do you know that? No.
And they did put tents up to try and protect themselves from the weather. Dan Gurung, who is 60.
I have family who've served in the Gurkha regiment. I have a massive amount of respect for the Gurkhas.
Gurkha grievances goes beyond just pensions on matters of racism and human rights. The hunger strikes gathered supporters of all generations, but most notably veterans who came out dressed in their military medals and army accessories, reminding the public of their years of service. Veterans from other members of the British Army also attended the protests in solidarity. This 76-year-old veteran finds comfort in knitting pieces, creating warm clothes that were not afforded to him during his turn in the 24-hour hunger strike relay. He ran away to join the Gurkhas aged 14 and experienced the horrors of jungle warfare in Brunei, seeing friends killed and picking up dead bodies by the age of 17. He learned knitting from nurses as a way to pass months healing from a weapons injury, and became a young widower by the time he turned 24. He subsists on government benefits, as he is not eligible for pensions. He quit the army after 8 years of service since he was refused permission to attend his own father's funeral. There are many more like him in the UK living in poverty. A little over a month
Like this genre of music, young artists also reflect cultural influences in popular British urban music such as Afrobeat.
And this ain't no waste man things. How I know you got told by them waste man things. Snapchatting to your friends about them waste man things. Are they artists pulling on your waist black jeans?
Girl, if you bless me, I feel gonna show ya. We wanna show you tender love, got me a care for ya. Step on the gay, girl, you know we done the racial. We love you like the rising sun, got
wanna
me
see me if I'm right for you. Wanna see if I'm on time for you. Girl, your body make me die for you.
Aka mero, aka lobby, mon papi, hurry, disa, London, Nairobi, honey, Odisha, Baba. Some like that to go legal, it's not that you need, Baba, wawa.
It must be noted that Nepal also has a history as a tourist destination for counterculture in the 1960s and 70s and indigenous celebrations of marijuana used by Hindu holy men. So dreadlocks in Nepal are not anything new. Here are two examples of rap artists in Nepal.
Bitch, I be counting these hundreds. मैले तिमीलाई पास दिदा लामो लामो सास सनी चिल ब्रो पफ पफ पास पोजिटिभिटी नै फिल भो केही कामै छैन पहाड बनाएर दिलको यो ब्रह्माण्डमा हामी केवल आगोको झिलको लामो लामो सास सनी चिल ब्रो झिलको
Certain Nepali artists such as Dibes Pokrel, also known as Arthur Gunn, have gained much more greater international attention for being featured on American Idol, and Nepalis everywhere, UK included, have been very supportive. Ethnically Nepali artists also end up gaining a following even if they were never brought up in Nepal.
I'm a pretty boy, I'm stunning. Super speed Sonic, I'm running. Super speed Sonic, I'm running.
US-based rap artists are also invited to perform in the UK, and there's a big contrast in both clothing and music styles in line with the rap genres that they both follow.
Feel my lady, keep behind it. Oh, about my dick, push the paddle out, run it. Pull your thing out, push the boy, you better gun it.
In the meantime, musicians from all parts of the Nepali diaspora look towards Nepal with far more popular rappers who highlight social issues.
Resonate to the bass and a drum kick. When the snare fill up the air, my heart function. I ain't scared of shit, thorough kick. Got dreams like an American.
Celebrating Gurkhas continue amongst their children, who then draw upon military symbols through fabrics and accessories for inspirations. My research asks how the young men may internalize the near-mythical narrative of their military heritage, along with the indigenous individualism within their particular ethnic groups, martial races in Britain but marginalized groups in Nepal. Over time, they have moved away from creating highly visible ethnic-inspired fashion, exploring masculinities that seem softer than the image of a hardened warrior.
I like cardigans so much. I bought a lot of cardigans, like 6 or 7 pieces.
For example, Korean media, now a global force, was and continues to be highly influential. Here is a clip of one reaction video that generated over 500,000 views. Dhiraj became cast as an actor for a Nepali-led film set in England. Interesting to note how many comments praise how Korean Dhiraj looks. Korean popular culture itself mixes influences from US, R&B and hip-hop, and the young men here draw from both worlds along with Nepali tropes and imagery. Thai translates to older brother, part of how Nepalis address one another. Here's another clip from this collective.
Diaspora youth embrace myths of martial races and internalize notions of bravery to both display forms of masculinities as well as create defense shields in face of hostility.
Young yellow, would a living be? Ain't in my shoe, and if you was, still you wouldn't last it.
The constant exposure to military events within families and the larger diaspora community becomes a source of imagery in fashion and the arts. Gurkha heritage becomes a source of pride depicted on the body from tattoos to t-shirts. Children of veterans and soldiers mix and remix military accessories and symbols. Young men are encouraged to join the British Army, and they also create music that overlap with popular themes of masculinities in British urban music that value notions of daring, bravery, and brotherhood. Sons borrow clothing from fathers and uncles for fashion shoots. Both men and women participate in these gendered constructions of particular masculinities, which further evolve through queer, LGBTQ+ additions into Gurkha identities.
Defended him.
And I'm gay, so what? And I hope that me sharing my story will be an example.
Here is an openly gay soldier in the British Army who is a former Gurkha and an inspiration and role model to many young people. Young straight men in the diaspora have also experimented with queer topics in their music videos, and surprisingly, they've had very little backlash over them, both in Nepal and the diaspora. Whether these different young people explore styles deliberately through formal study or as self-expression, they are all interconnected in these diasporic events as influencers, organizers, models, and participants.
Yeah, all you wanna do is party. Got a gang of girls with you. Whole squad flexing for the pictures. Don't even get me started. Hashtags with it.
They also team up with fitness-centered groups and initiatives.
Hi guys, my name is Rudin. I'm the founder of Runderbolts, and we are a community that uses running as a tool to bring people together. You have to work out clues to get to the next destination.
Even a group around powerlifting collaborates with big dance events such as those in the clips you saw previously, mixing weightlifting followed by dance. They also collaborate with emerging community fashion labels to attract bigger audiences. Children of Gurkhas explore menswear as designers, artists, and models with clothing unrelated to Gurkhas, but they still use the idea of the Gurkha in other ways of expression, such as music, wearing clothes according to the aesthetics associated with British urban musical styles. This freedom to explore youth fashion styles was previously denied to Gurkhas until 1994, when as soldiers in Hong Kong in their 20s and early 30s, they plucked the courage to protest and create a list of 8 requests regards pay and human rights. Among the requests was one to simply be allowed to wear jeans and short-sleeve shirts when off-duty away from army premises. They also asked if they could be allowed to eat in more casual military clothes instead of the formal pressed long-sleeve shirts, ties, and trousers at the canteen during meal times. These dress requirements were not called for at all to their white counterparts in the British Army who served alongside them, living in the same army camps. Here are some of the images of the soldiers of the 1982 Army intake who were finally able to wear jeans on weekends away from the military base after 12 years of such restrictions. Today's Gurkha soldiers still have to dress formally outside their barracks on particular occasions, such as this public inter-regimental football match. As we explore ways Gurkhas dress, we also have to take into account their ethnic backgrounds. Veterans take on multiple roles, as musicians and even shamans too, and they pass on specific ethnic heritage to their sons, who find innovative ways to use sacred symbols. Some veterans even dance dressed as women, which is specific to particular tribal customs, and was also a common mode of entertainment during army days. Younger Gurkhas and Gurkhas' children also make visible queer identities whilst navigating gender expectations. As sons navigate new modes of style within Britain, their fathers can now proudly wear flowers in their hair or flaunt jeans without worrying about getting kicked out of the army. They teach the next generation to fight for social justice, value honor, duty, and discipline, and take pride in community service. They pass on cultural heritage belonging to both military and ethnic identities. Meanwhile, the worlds of fresh Gurkha recruits from Nepal collide with the diaspora youth who are their age but are now British. What kinds of future ancestors will this mixture of youth be? What kinds of legacies will they style?